environmentally friendly, so we just have the cups now. Okay, it should. Okay, now we're live, so I can troubleshoot. Okay, so if you can, there's about a 5-second delay, so if you can talk into the mic and let's see how the microphone picks it up.
Okay. Test 1 2 1 2. Test 1 2 1 2. La 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 la.
Oh,
Not super loud. Let me see. I could just start reading something, I suppose.
okay, sounds
Yeah.
it sounds better than last week. So this is the microphone that's picking you up for the audio. So there's a little bit, I don't know if you, I mean, there's like the bit rate seems a little low. I mean, there's a little bit of noise. So, but that's on my end.
Good, good.
Yep. All right. Okay, so
Okay.
I think I mean, I'm ready to begin. So, I mean, but we obviously have 5 minutes. So let's see if I have patrons who are to come in. So, hello. Hey, are you here for our offer? Fantastic. She's here, and we're going to begin real soon. So, and there is a Thanks for the word. Someone's okay. I'm somebody wants to come at the end because she has a meeting right now. So but well, welcome in. This looks a little different than last time. I'm trying to give the best presentation for online since we're recording this for posterity. Looks actually the frame is really good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How about your lonesome so far?
So far,
Have you gone to Green Island yet to check out your poetry
I
walk?
haven't. Is it still up?
It's still up. I think I'm not sure what day we were going to take it down. I mean you're welcome to have the laminated pages for use because you know I think after this we're not going to need them, so I can send them back to you so that you maybe there's another poetry walk you might want to do. So
Last week. Actually, I was out twice. I was out by myself, kind of unaware and just doing some forest bathing. And then a couple
right.
of my girlfriends said, hey, let's go out there. You've never been to Green? Never. Oh my gosh, you are never such a treat. It's in its winter state right now, which is a little bit different. There's a lot of gardens and the paths and it's a
I think I should do that, and I haven't yet.
I mean, there's no snow on the ground yet, but that would be absolute winter, which you can still do. Although he recommends like possibly snowshoes if the snow gets too high. I think
you
he
might want to go cross
grooms
country
the trail.
out there because I was nervous about going to Black's Grove alone. When I got out there, I got turned around, which is odd because I have a good sense of direction. But
Yeah, there's a lot of trails
signage
there.
wasn't
Yeah.
very good. No, apparently it's been improved.
I've gotten lost stuff. There's so many.
Well, and I'm with Diane, who
Ways.
lived next door to it for 20 years.
She still got lost. Yeah. That's what I figured. I figured.
Love her, that's not.
Excuse me. Oh, she loves it up. She
She got pretty good at it.
Okay.
When I was she just was.
So I have about 7 minutes. So I'd like to give 5 minutes. Hi, how are you?
That's great. Yeah,
Maybe I should get pens, not pencils. We'll take this seriously. I'll be right back.
So Tony got your canoe things done. Yeah. So I had an interesting contact. I was gonna bring them over, but you were working this week. Yeah. And I think he's a friend of yours. His name is Big Bear. Who is that? Then anyway, as I came, he thought, and I am there. And well, when I say, well, you and Tony are very good friends. He was a teacher. He's retired. He lost his wife in years ago. Yeah, see that. Very sad. He taught by a. And you just do afterwards. That's I am very active. Talked about strip things. My brother was like that. Just she did like yeah, take the front row. Yeah, red license or something. Yeah. And there was no other family. It's just got. So he's been home. And when Marilyn was alive, his wife, they went to Africa. They went out to Brazil.
I haven't yet either.
And
but they're out there still, I guess.
And I have been, but not this weekend. I'm hunting.
I thought, oh, I could go. He is. Oh my goodness, sitting at your stand right now. Oh, that's where you guys. That's right. Really? Yes. Yes, no, it's very. I've always liked. I love Marilyn. We did stuff together. Now when we. Yeah, Tony and they used to fish together. Everything else. Don't have to leave on up to Quetico. Yeah, serious. Oh yeah, backwoods stuff. Yeah, they went over there. Yeah, he's a good guy. We got very argumentative. Helped her really right. And we just fiercely. Anybody would say anything on Facebook, you just jump on him. We really got going through his anger grief, maybe. Yeah. So I just kind of let him go for a while. I say hi once, but otherwise I didn't want to confront him because it didn't look like a good idea. And I think he's calmed down some. He's still more. I don't know. This is his poetry conversationalist. I was a little surprised.
Poetry reading, talk, and then I do hope to do a little bit of an exercise with you guys at the end. So
We're an athletic one.
This wasn't it.
writing exercise.
Writing exercise. Okay, I'm up for it.
It's an energy though.
Yes.
Dan grabbed me and Dan said, "Hey, you want to join?" Dan grabbed. I'm going to see you leave the house.
Oh, that's not about. You see how fast I got dressed? I came over half an hour ago and I was still in my bathrobe making chili.
Yeah, I know. She beat you. And she still gets
Or chili.
Oh, yeah. And if anybody wants any, I'm going to have a giant batch of white chicken chili coming up here in a couple hours. I love it, but you know when it's just me? Yeah.
So
freeze it. Freeze.
We did have a restful night. I didn't have to, but then I still end up eating it for a long time. My refrigerator freezes everything and my freezer freezes solid as I like. Oh yeah, for the chicken. So I can get some really nice high-end.
My college.
You know that goes. I'm so tired. The last 2 days I got just hammered everywhere.
I think I'm just waiting for Dan to come back. So
Yeah, he has to introduce you and say his little spiel. Yeah, about how you got here. He has to talk for a few minutes.
okay. They know how this goes.
That's his thing.
Yeah.
Grab a chair.
Yeah, grab a chair, honey. He's mad at her.
Yes. He's trying to live in his his life directly. Polished off about stage production. Really tired. I picked up at the kids to bed. So for 3 more hours this morning.
You can play journals.
Thank
There you go. If you have any questions about the journals, I can.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. For these, so I just
Thank you.
wanted to make sure that
I got it. Good house.
Oh, you have a calendar, but I'm gonna.
It's nice. Your presents. Well, here's my other little note.
And then I can copy of that sheet for you. And
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
one for me too. Three.
You're an international golf person. Right here. Fergus. Let's see. Is this a different book discussion? Oh, right.
Yes. Her name isn't Mary. Again, LeAnn. It's okay.
Sandy's husband was from Rania. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I have two books. Must be. She wants here in December. First, it's not on December. It's on history. Yeah. Oh, what stuff?
You.
Is this our homework? Yes.
This is the audience participation part.
Oh.
Oh, we towards the end.
Towards the end.
You get graded on them. Right.
That'll be for you guys to take home with you.
I don't think I want to do a poetry curve grade with Diane.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm in the frame, but we can start. And for those at home, welcome. Thank you for coming to the Wadena City Library for this BookEnds presentation. I'm happy to have and welcome LeAnn Bjerken. She is a poet. She works at the Fergus Falls Library. She has spent her time, you were born and raised here in Minnesota?
Yes.
She has also spent time in Spokane, Washington, where she worked for a newspaper, a business journal out there, which I discovered and listened to a couple interviews. They're online, so give those some views. I'm sure it's a very good organization. They cover business pretty well out there. So, but she's back in Minnesota, and I suppose you're going with a first love instead of a day job with this, I suppose.
Yeah.
So her book is Ordinary Omens, and we have for the last month featured it at Green Island over it's our jewel of Wadena. If you ever come to Wadena, you need to make sure you find this green space and just Google it. You'll get the address, and it looks like somebody's property, which it is. But they invite everybody there to explore around. It's like a natural park. It's a natural space. It's very therapeutic. It's good to be out in forested area. I feel good whenever I go and explore around out there. So that's so her poetry has been there for the last month out there, and I might see if he can keep it up a little bit longer. So we'll see. You can check Facebook, and we'll post, or maybe I'll put it in the description of this video. This is a BookEnds presentation. So we are funded by the state of Minnesota through the Legacy Amendment and the kind people at Five Wings Arts Council. So they have provided funding, and because of that, and this is the important part, it is a free program. There are surveys, so if you could please fill out a survey, I have them over there. If you are watching online, please like and give a comment in here if you enjoyed this program. We will pack it up in a report, send it off to Five Wings, and it'll make them very happy. Incidentally, the person who is in charge of the grants, like Vicky, she lives at Green Island, so she's very happy to have that part of it in installed in this program. So please, another couple things. Just if you have cell phones, please mute them. I will do that myself. And if you need to use the restroom is right by the sliding door, and we have 2 of them up here. We have some in the basement as well. So, all right, LeAnn, thank you very much for coming. I'm giving it to you.
Okay, y'all just let me know if I'm in frame.
Okay, you are perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Well, thank you, Dan, for that introduction. Again, nice to see everyone today. I'm LeAnn Bjerken. I was born and raised in Morris, Minnesota. And my husband and I now live in Fergus Falls. We had spent probably the last 10 years or so out in Washington State. We had went out there because I wanted to attend grad school at Eastern Washington University. So I did that, got my graduate degree, and then jumped headlong into the journalism stuff. So that's where some of those journalist videos are coming up in Dan's search that he mentioned earlier. So yeah, that would be the Spokane Journal of Business. Good publication that I was with for, I think, about 5 years. But yeah, a couple of years back, I guess it's been probably about 3 years now, we moved back to Minnesota to kind of be closer to family, and decided to start our own family. So I have a 2.5-year-old at home. You'll hear a little bit about her kind of in relation to some of these poems as well. But so the reading today is going to be a mix of poetry, storytelling, and reflection, centered on the everyday and the quiet ways that meaning shows up in our lives. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Ordinary Omens itself. So the poems in this book, a lot of them were kind of started 10 years ago in my graduate school thesis. So they've kind of evolved from that. And others I wrote later and shared with friends in different writing groups, and just kind of continued to shape them. And eventually I noticed that there was kind of a pattern between some of them, just this feeling that kept returning to me of how some of these ordinary moments, rituals, superstition, faith, are so intersected in our lives and can kind of guide us and shape the direction that things go. And they sometimes carry more meaning than we realize at the time. So I wove some of those newer style pieces in, as well as just kind of some imaginative storytelling ones. But they're all kind of grounded in those feelings of just the longing for love and for life and a brighter future. So, with that in mind, I was going to read you guys a couple of poems from the book. One that I always like to start up with is called Luck of the Pisces. It's toward the beginning, and it's just kind of a story from my childhood that's kind of grown into this poem with a little bit more deeper meaning. So, Luck of the Pisces. I was born near the Ides of March, the day before the day we celebrate the patron saint of Ireland. I'm told I weighed 9 pounds or so, my mother's cyan fish eyes peering out of a head far too large to match my tiny body. Golden hair that grew out slowly in spun sugar wisps, like the delicate wings of a flying fish. I remember the four-wheeler accident that almost left me scarred. Dad said I was lucky when he ran to hold me in his arms after I'd lost my helmet and half the skin of my cheek to the shingles of a low-built barn roof. But there is no outward blemish. You tell me I am beautiful, and I know you wonder why I never seem to see myself that way. It's probably just the little girl in me who remembers boys that never passed love notes and girls who snickered at my clothes. Maybe there was something in that piece of cheek, perhaps the thickest skin I ever had, a scaly island that took months to heal, loosening inside and finally floating away in the pool one day, mid-swimming lesson. So a lot of the poems kind of connect to some of my other favorite things. One of them is a lifelong passion for swimming. And while I was out in Washington, I managed to snag one of my other kind of dream jobs that, you know, every little girl says, oh, I want to be a mermaid. And I actually had the opportunity to be a mermaid for an aquarium that they set up in the mall out there, where they had, you know, the touch pools that kids can come and touch the stingrays and the starfish. And they said, well, we want to have a mermaid show, so is there anyone that knows how to swim? So some of that mysticalness kind of flows into some of these as well. The next one I have is the rabbit. So this one's also kind of a poem that dates back to my grad school years and has also kind of evolved, but has a lot to do with romance and kind of that longing for love. And it was also the poem that my publishers chose the cover image from that poem, the rabbit under the streetlight. So here is the rabbit. When I saw the baby cottontail running fast along the sidewalk, streetlights reflected in his eyes, I remembered that night we made frantic love on the roof of your van, warm metal pressed against my thighs, unprotected in the summer heat. With me on my back, did you see the falling stars reflected in my eyes? Feel the wild heartbeat in my chest, building to a shining scream. We talked until sunrise, anxious, wondering if we created a mistake, making promises, choosing names. I'd forgotten all of it until I saw him, passing through dappled light, no grass, just warm movement under paws. His frantic movement, his wide and fearful eyes, and oh, how I ached to love so small a thing. Okay. The next one that I wanted to share with you is one that I also really like to read to people because it's one of those things that everyone can relate to. So I had wanted for a while to write a poem about that ritual of blowing out your birthday candles because I was like, well, that's kind of the number one thing that everyone does once a year, and it is one of those rituals that's connected with this is my chance to make a wish and do something this year that's different in my life, or something's going to change kind of notion. So birthday candles. She can't remember what it was she wanted, and there's only one chance once a year. It probably seems silly, but ever since she realized she's pretty, she wanted to stay young and beautiful. Find the fountain, drink the cure. Well, a girl can dream, but a woman starts to see too many candles and not enough air. She notices the wax falling onto those sweet frosted peaks, sliding down slowly, a masterpiece that's melting. The song begins to end, and everyone is staring expectantly. She inhales, the heat building in her face. One chance, no chance. Make a wish, they say. Make a wish. A lot of the other pieces, I just love that they have have them on display at Green Island because some of them just tie in so well with nature and some of the things that I love to observe in nature, the plants, the flowers, the rabbits, the birds especially are kind of one of those things that run through a lot of the poems as well. So the next one I'm going to share, especially since we're moving into winter, has a lot of winter imagery mixed in with these two birds and just that feeling of love and safety and warmth. So this is We Were Like the Birds. It was always winter with you and I, our bodies shivering, our fingers frozen, but I remember being on fire. When we were like the birds who follow in the warmth of a train's smokestack, chasing after each ragged breath, connecting in a gray bridge of exhalation. I fit just below your chin, a frisson of happiness in your arms. We were like the birds whose hearts beat 1,000 times a minute, feathers red against the snow, soul light like molten gold. An early morning star too bright to stare too long. Do you still feel it inside, even after all this time? I'm missing my face. There we go. Okay. So the final one I wanted to make sure to share it's one of those that's also kind of evolved its meaning over even just the last couple of years. So I think it used to kind of be about wanting to kind of stay in those magical moments of time with someone you love. And it was a little more focused on my relationship with my husband, but now it's kind of evolved because my daughter also loves running around outside, and there's nothing she likes more than picking all of the dandelions and collecting them. So this one is Dandelion, and it kind of speaks to those magic moments. I take my coffee black in the morning when the dandelions have gone to seed, when wishes can float along under a cathedral ceiling of eternal blue. Yellow lions, jagged leaves like teeth in grass, bitter healing in their wine blood. I want there to be more moments where I can just be, with you all fingers and breath, seeds and air. Bright white energy giving way in a puff of shattered stars. We're always more than just one thing. Pieces of us reaching out to settle the perfectly green lawns of paradise. Sending our inside out, past what we know, to anywhere we wish. Those are just some of the pieces that I wanted to share with you guys today. So then I wanted to kind of open things up to questions for all of you, whether it's about the writing process, the publishing process of how I was able to publish this book, or specific questions about any of the poems, ones you enjoyed or ones that you might want me to read, or anything about my process in general, where I find my inspiration, that kind of thing. So, any questions? Yes.
All those poems are just beautiful.
Thank you.
Very emotional. Some
Yeah.
yeah, I can feel the emotion in what way you've written. When you write, you say you're out in nature a lot and you see things, and as you're walking along, do you start the words start coming or do you take notes as you're out there, or both, or?
I would say it's a little bit of both, but I also do a lot of keeping a note on my phone where I'll have conversations with people, or I'll be out and about, be like, there's a poem in that. I need to write that down. And oftentimes it is kind of some of these ordinary moments, or someone will say a word, or just mention some obscure fact. I know there were some writers that I was talking with on one of my last trips to Spokane that they were talking about the names for different groups of wildlife, and they said, "Well, did you realize that a group of butterflies is called a kaleidoscope?" I said, "No, I didn't know that, and there's definitely a poem in that." So that was kind of one of those things that I wrote down to make sure that I look into a little bit more, just sit with, have my cup of coffee and just sit with the idea and try to see what flows.
Okay. I just want to share with you the experience that we had going out to Green Island, which truly is a magical place. But I went alone and went through and read them, and then went with two of my dear friends, and we went out and took turns reading them. And a couple of them that you read were ones that we had read out loud. So it was really fun to hear your voice saying those same things that we had said. And it, the birthday one, we had just a delightful laugh because we are all a bit older, and how the meaning of that probably was different from us that are have a lot more birthdays than you do.
Yeah.
But how some of that transcends. And they were really beautiful. We really enjoyed them.
Cute.
My sister saw Green Island advertised, or she saw it in the paper. And I said, "Boy, it sounds like right close to me." I said, "We could just walk over there." So she came over to visit to see me, and she was, we should go check out Green Island. And I said, "There's a sign." And then we got back. It doesn't even feel like you're in Wadena. It was so quiet. It was so quiet. I mean, and you didn't feel like you were, it was just beautiful. It was very peaceful, quiet. It was beautiful. And a lot of places to walk, explore, see and read. And it was beautiful, peaceful.
Especially at the time of year with fall changing into winter and all the different colors. And, fall is one of my favorites just for the colors. But, yeah. Any other questions?
Well, Bookends is about the writing process.
Yeah.
So you've given us a lot about your writing process. So I do have a couple questions. I have admitted before, I am a writer, but I have admitted before in the Bookends when we have poets that I'm not well versed, so to speak. Okay, pardon the pun. In poetry, I don't go out of my way to read poetry. I've attempted it in the past, but it's like I don't know what I'm doing. I have two I have two backgrounds to base my personal taste on, which would be Shakespeare and pop music. So is how hard is it, do you think, to come up with? I mean, since I believe you have free verse for most of your verse.
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of free verse and lyrical poetry.
Do you think about the rhythm of how you're speaking, or do you just write and then revise to try to put it in a rhythm?
Little this, little that again. Yeah, I guess I kind of go with my gut for what I uh, how I want it to sound. But I have tried experimenting, especially in the last couple of years, with trying to take something that I've written as free verse and maybe move it into a form, or experiment with trying to, okay, let's try it with end rhyme or in a certain rhyming pattern, or let's try it with the syllable rhythm to it specifically. And it can be one of those things that's just fun to just tinker with and be like, well, does it
Mhm.
sound better, or is it, kind of a cool new thing, or do I like it better the old way? And kind of a mix again there too. Yeah.
See, I just learned something about poetry, and I just came to this realization that, me being in middle aged, wow, yeah, poetry is meant to be read aloud because the voice in your head while reading poetry isn't necessarily going to have those beats, uh, you know. And so I think, when we're reading your book, we should be reading aloud so that we can find those rhythms.
Yeah.
The voice in our head probably not going to get there.
Since you mentioned that, there is one poem that I maybe could read for you guys too, because that one specifically, I had written it with the intention of it being uh, read almost in one whole breath. So
Okay.
because it's meant to be very very kind of rushed and just flow one sentence into the next. And I don't know if anyone who's read it really realized that, so I thought it might be a good one to point out.
Okay.
So that is Dowsing on 35. So, and I kind of wrote it that way as well, just because uh, dowsing is where you go around with the divining rod searching for water. So I felt like it could have this pull to it where you're feeling directed to find water. So, dowsing. I'll try to read it as I would have liked it to be read as well. All I want to do is go jump in a lake, he tells me, and I can feel it in my hands like the first time I felt a heartbeat through the cloth of a t-shirt too small for me that I still insist on keeping in my closet like some kind of psycho who needs to feel like this is the real world and things will never change as long as I don't think about the past and how much easier it was when all I had to do was hold my breath and count to 10 while watching the bubbles escape through my opening lips like stars in a country night's blackness, the only light that ever traveled so far forward, so fast to reach us.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
In one breath, yes, and that gives it an added dimension to it, so that we know that was your intent was to read in one breath, and it adds to the to the storytelling.
Because for me, yeah, I very much when I was writing it had the sense that it should be this feeling of a draw, a pull, a very quick paced. You're rushing forward. You're finding your future. You're wanting to just go jump in the lake now, and very much so, I guess.
Yeah. How about descriptive words? I know you're a word artist, so you know lots of words, vocabulary and such, but do you ever find yourself using like a thesaurus or something like that, or do you just
I don't think so. Not unless there's a particular synonym that I'm searching for. Like if I'm sitting there thinking, well, I don't just want to use still or quiet. I want something else. So
more descriptive?
what's another set of synonyms for that I'm wanting to describe? And is there one that's better or just right for what I'm trying to do? Yeah. Yeah. But I also have gone back through as I'm revising and kind of not necessarily word for word, but kind of sat with some of the lines and been like, is that particular word really what I want there?
Yeah.
So poetry is a lot of revising, and it actually helps. I was going to mention to Dan, it does help to read other poets that inspire you to kind of get a feel for how they do things, but also what kind of worked for some of those classic poets that everyone loves.
Have you ever found anything that you just can't describe? Like, oh, it's just like this one hurts. It's just feeling like it's,
I don't know. That's a really good question. I think there have been poems that I've been kind of stuck on that I'll maybe just shelve and just be like, oh, that might be the beginnings of a project some other time. And I think there maybe were even a couple that made it into the manuscript eventually that I was like, well, I really want to write on that concept, but I don't know if it's fitting, and I don't know if this particular poem is really saying much of anything at all that relates to any of this. So yeah, so some of those kind of got scrapped for maybe it'll fit somewhere else. Yeah.
Do you ever co-write?
Co-write. I don't, but I have done a lot of poetry workshops. Even for the book, the first poem, "The Magician," came out of one of the workshops that I had done with Spokane. With some of the poets in Spokane, they have a writing center there, Spark Central, that caters to the community there. They do a lot of programs for children, and then different writing groups, and kind of. I guess I didn't to look up all that they do, but they do a lot, and a lot of it's focused on creative stuff. But yeah, so that piece kind of came out of a poetry workshop where we were examining tarot cards, and we each got to choose a card and kind of just look at it and go with what we were feeling about it, or the images that were coming to us, and kind of make our own poem based on the background of the card and the history and some of that. Yeah.
My background is in scholastic writing, and we often do that in groups because there is so much data that we have to go through. And it is just such a fascinating process to see how my co-writers would come to the same conclusion. And much like you were talking about finding a synonym, doing that in real time with people and the way that they add to your writing is something that's really interesting. And I wondered about doing that with poetry because it's so personal. Mine is very sort of scholastic writing as opposed to that emotional piece.
And I was telling a younger poet friend of mine that when you're first starting out and experimenting with your poetic voice, we all end up writing something and thinking, this is good, this is a masterpiece, it's finished, I don't want any criticism, it's perfectly wonderful, read it and tell me that you think it's awesome as well. And so I had to tell her, that's a feeling we all have every time we write it, and some of it ends up being so personal and just so emotional for you personally that you're just, well, there's nothing wrong with it, nothing needs to be changed. It's like, well, it's not that there's anything wrong with it necessarily, it's that you can find ways to deepen the experience for someone who's reading it and connect them more fully with what you intended to convey when you wrote it, for sure. Your question, yes.
Mine was with publisher too, or kind of related to what you're saying, because there's going to be some critiques. When did you have a lot of poems created before you ever contacted a publisher, and were some not put in the book that you would have liked to, and others? How did you decide to put this collection together?
Right. So this collection, like I had said, was I'd say maybe a good half of it came from poems that were in my master's thesis, so they had already been pretty thoroughly workshopped and kind of revised, and so I kind of knew the direction that those were going. And then I just kind of picked some of my favorite parts of the themes from those, as well as ones that I did in later workshops, like the magician, and then kind of created some new ones just from getting hyped up from reading the old ones and thinking, well, if I'm going on this theme of ordinary moments, magical things, superstition, fortune telling kind of stuff, what's coming to mind creatively now. And then I did workshop with a friend and kind of said, do you feel like this theme is working? Is it tying these together? Is it coming through how I would like it? And then I submitted. I kind of put them all together and I submitted to quite a few places. And then eventually, I think I talked to actually one of the people that wrote one of my reviews, a good friend, Nyla Webster. I had sent it to her to kind of get her feedback, and she very much felt that it was a collection and that it would find a home. So she was very encouraging to say, well, it all, to me, it all fits. It's wonderful. Don't change a thing. But even if it's not getting accepted, she very much felt that it would at some point. And so for the publisher that I ended up choosing, they're a small press out of Portland, Oregon, and husband-wife team, and they're kind of I think what you would call a hybrid publisher. So they kind of choose the manuscripts that they resonate with and that they would like to publish, and then they work with you on a publishing package. So I did have to pay a certain amount for my particular package and work with them on how many were going to be published, and then they kind of helped me with the marketing aspect of things. Yeah. It's a many year process. It definitely doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. Any other questions?
If none, did you want to go through this poetry prompt?
Okay.
And I'll do it too, even though I'm not a poet.
So I am hoping to do more area poetry workshops. I've done at least one in Evansville, and I think if I had one set up for over the summer, but it didn't end up happening for various reasons. But so what I came up with for today was just kind of a one pager that you guys can bring home. But so this activity, I wanted to ask everyone to just kind of reflect on a small, ordinary moment in your daily life and explore how you might elevate it into something poetic, so something sacred, strange, or beautiful. So some of the examples that I had listed here, I guess in the chart, I have morning coffee. So if we list that at the top and then just kind of have 3 or 4 words that come to mind with that particular thing. For this example, it was steam, warmth, quiet, routine. And then after that, choosing some more elevated, metaphorical, or emotionally charged words that make that moment feel a little more magical or meaningful. So some of the associations in the chart for, say, steam, for example, were a risen prayer, a whisper. Can take your turn and find your ordinary moment and some of the maybe more ordinary words that you would use to describe it, and then think of how we might be able to elevate that language into something whimsical or magical or spiritual to kind of lift that moment into something deeper that you might not have thought of while you were just sitting on your balcony.
That's a strange phrase, isn't it? Sitting on your thumbs.
I don't, I mean, I've played with it in time, but it's like, where did it?
Over a little bit since we have
Yes.
since we have a little bit of time. We'll just ask this question because how does somebody you have an MFA in poetry?
Creative writing with a poetry emphasis.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does somebody with an MFA in creative writing get a job at a business journal?
Well,
I'm fascinated too because I went to college for journalism, so
right.
I
Well, what it started out where I just graduated and I was looking for jobs, but there didn't really seem to be any openings in anything besides journalistic writing.
Mhm.
So I first pursued a job with the Colville tribes out in Grand Coulee. So they're, I want to say it's about an hour from Spokane. And they were looking for someone to write kind of community-based things for their tribal newspaper. So I was like, well, being as I've never done any journalistic work, it sounds like I could get some experience there. So I worked with them for about a year until there was an opening back in Spokane at the Business Journal, and yeah, a lot of it was a lot different than I was used to. I was used to more creative, fun writing, and even uh, at the Tribal Tribune, when I was writing some things for them, they kind of left a little bit of a window open for me to do some of those more creative pieces. So when I moved to the Journal, it was a lot more of kind of a crash course in business writing. Like, we want to know the background on this business, their financial earnings for the year, and kind of more of those factual things. And they're like, these are the kind of things that people are going to be interested in when they're reading the Journal versus some of your more creative pieces of, behind the story of, I don't know.
kind of in the road of life. You made a swerve out, and then you had a path, and then you went completely in a different direction. So, but you have to put food on the table. Yeah.
Right. So there was a little bit of that, but also I was kind of like, well, I'm a writer and I have this background and I can write this stuff. So, there was a little bit of a sense of, I kind of still want to prove that, well, yeah, I can do the creative stuff that's fun and seemingly easy to a lot of people, but I can also do the more meaty stuff that's factual and hard hitting, and yeah.
That was my experience too because I started out in news ed, and me being, sort of a creative writer, that was the best class I was doing in my first year of college. And then I wrote an article. It was about this is going to date me. It was about the presidential campaign of 1992, what professors thought, and I felt so constrained by the language of news ed, and it's like you know what, I'm going to switch this. So then I forget about working for a newspaper. I was going to do broadcast journalism because I'm sort of a performer, and I thought, you know what, I'll work on it. I'll work on my presentation for the radio, and of course, I'm still working on it because I'm still pretty rough. But yeah, I think being a writer, being able. I mean, I would say it's a 180 to do poetry with sort of a theater in your mind with your language instead of straight facts and this person said this and this person said that. So yeah, definitely different than poetry, the business writing.
Yeah, and I think it was right around, it was just before the pandemic that I ended up quitting working for the journal and decided to kind of go freelance because there were a couple other publications in town that were accepting freelance pieces that I figured, well, maybe I can go a little bit more creative and do some of that more fun writing that I've been craving for a while too. And then of course we had COVID, so everybody was stuck inside. So it was kind of well, there's nothing to do but kind of creative journaling and finding different ways of getting the story without actually being there in person or covering events where you're kind of nervous, like, okay, well, what's the turnout going to be here? So it's definitely a strange time to be pivoting back into the creative mode as well.
I think working at a library then does sort of promote that a little bit better. You get
Yes.
your expertise. So I know when you start out at a library, as you're probably a library assistant like me, so
Yes.
they don't pay very much. So I hope the in your move back to Minnesota, you were you had some financial stability to so that you can go back to your passions and work on poetry. You're right. So we're still working on the poems, or
If anyone wants to share what their moment they chose was.
no, I know I wrote down stuff about leaves outside the autumn because like you, it's my favorite. It's my favorite time of the year. I like the coolness. I like the change in the colors and up here I mean I'm from California, but we have to deal with the maple leaves, so I was just like, oh, do I have to thinking about raking up the lawn, or am I going to leave them for winter? So I did a little bit of sight and smell and listen, because we need to use all five senses. So I know I could assemble these pieces into something. So this is what I wrote down. I wrote down leaves, annual every year, favorite time, crunchy, woody smell, those maples, and I let a little melancholy come in. Does autumn bring exhaustion, or is it opportunity lost? That's just how I am, though. So I know I can assemble that into something if I wanted to.
Yeah. So I think there was a poem that I wrote a long time ago where I talk about the leaves screaming down the sidewalk because they get caught and do that screeching sound. Yeah.
And they tumble, so it's almost like they're sprinting and they're just trying to get out of there.
You could write a one breath poem of your own.
Oh yeah. Does anybody else want to share what they came up with?
Something rough because I have a river that runs through our property, and I was out one morning and it was sunrise. It was lightly breezy, and it was blowing these ripples across the river, and it was like sparkler. The sun was glinting off the river, and it was like sparkles, and it was like the sunrise colors. And I've been trying ever since then. I've been trying to find just the right. That's why I was asking you about finding the right words to convey that. Because I finally gave up on it. I thought, oh, I saw that. It's in my mind. That's good enough. But anyways, I just wrote looking through a window. That was the moment that I thought of, because I look out the windows a lot, especially in the cold weather. Looking through a window, light, life, breath, living water, ripples of sunrise, sparkles, wind made visible. Because I thought of that moment of seeing the ripples on the water. It's like, oh, that's the wind made visible, just like when the trees are blowing the wind. It's wind made visible, otherwise you can't see it.
Yeah. That's very pretty, very powerful. Yeah, feel free to take those copies home and kind of, as you encounter more ordinary moments in life that you think a poem in that, write it down and do a little chart with some words that you encounter in the moment, and then ones that you might think later relate to something that's a different experience that might still be connected in some way.
Correct. Now, I mean, I'm like, did you know I was a writer? I'm going to mention it again. I have my favorite authors. So, like John Steinbeck, Madeleine L'Engle, um, my absolute favorite is, well, I'm blanking on his name. That's too bad. But he just died. Oh man. Okay, but I'll come up with it much later. But among poets, now, are there poets that are your favorite throughout history? I'm kind of partial to the Romantic era of poetry and music. Who are your favorite poets of all time?
Well, it's funny she should mention Poe because I have always liked his stuff. But I guess the one that I always say that I feel like everyone always says is Mary Oliver. I do really like her stuff.
Robert Frost.
I feel like I was more of a Frost fan in the really young years, high school and early college. I feel like high school speech kind of not really ruined him for me, but kind of put a damper on that a little bit because he was another one that people always really liked to choose his stuff and read and enact some of his. So after a while, it's like, yep, there's Frost again, poking in there. Who else?
I think Robert Frost's on his poetry about walking in the woods. He would miss the stuff that you notice because you notice the mystical
Right.
stuff. But
he has that the connections to like the farming and kind of the domestic, and yeah, I can see some similarities in some of our stuff for sure. The one, the other one that I was going to mention, the current poet, Ada Limon, the former U.S. poet laureate. I had the honor of meeting her once. Got her to sign her book for me, and that I feel like that was kind of before she got super big in the last couple of years. But what else? Oh, I don't know that anyone would really know her stuff, but so my friend Nyla, her mother was a poet, and we were pen pals for quite a while. So her name is Janie Jo Webster. So I had encountered one of her books when I was on vacation with my family, and I had decided to write to her, but there was no address to write to her at. So I wrote to her publisher, and they got me an address, and we were pen pals for many years until she passed away, and I think it was 2014. So now I'm pen pals with her daughter, exchanging writing that way. So you never know if you have a favorite poet, reach out to their publishing company or their social media. Yeah.
Okay, I remember my favorite author is Paul Auster. So that's a peek into my personality. It's realism, but it's also satire and also meta, and approaching speculation like sci-fi and fantasy, but not quite there. So that's how mixed up my brain is. He's the one who's like an old friend. Do you have any authors of prose that you appreciate?
I was gonna say the sci-fi end of things, sci-fi and paranormal romance. I like Kim Harrison, and I think it's Charlene Harris that did the Southern Vampire series and all of
Turned into True Blood.
Yep.
Sookie Stackhouse.
Yep.
My wife liked those.
Laurel K. Hamilton, Jim Butcher, all that stuff. He does the Dresden Files. What else? kind of what might seem like an odd one. I was always a big Larry McMurtry fan. So all of his westerns, just I saw the Lonesome Dove, and after that I was like, well, wait, this is a book.
Yeah.
So then I've read a bunch of his stuff.
Oh yeah, that was an amazing miniseries. So yeah, I need to pick
Yeah.
up that book someday too.
Yeah.
So
Pulitzer Prize winner.
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Are there any other questions? I was kind of keeping an eye on chat, but I have my screensaver up. If there aren't any questions left, LeAnn has some books on sale here. How much are they?
I think with tax they end up being around 15.
15.
Yeah.
So, but that is, I think that might wrap it up. Thank you. We got it in an hour. So, absolutely. So, okay. So next time, December is her name is Debbie Russell. She's a Minnesota author, Minneapolis Star Tribune, although they call it the Minnesota Star Tribune now, that she worked for. She has a memoir about her and her father called Crossing 51. She's telling a couple of stories here. And Crossing 51, that speaks to me because guess what, how old I am now? 51. So she's going to be here on that second weekend in December. And then I think we're going to take a break because she might be doing it on Zoom if we have a snowstorm on that day. So I'm going to push the author visits back. I'm not going to necessarily have them on the second Saturday of the month, but they may be on they're going to be on a Saturday in that month, and I think we're going to double up in March. So February, 2 in March, and then then it's another grant period, and we'll get some more authors in. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you online. If you liked it, like and subscribe. We'll have more content, and I'll get those other two book talks from Zoom up before the end of next week. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks, LeAnn, for coming.